Hey guys, welcome back to Ranger Survival and Fieldcraft. I'm Andrew, and what I have for you today is an awesome video. We have our first review video up on the channel of a survival knife, and that is the survival knife from Reliance Outfitters in the Pathfinder knife shop. We were lucky enough to get our hands on this one. This is the second batch of knives, and now we're going to take it out of the field, put it through its paces, using it for survival tasks and skills, and see how it performs. Stand by. Alright, super excited for our first official review. This knife is about 10 inches overall. It's got about 4 3/4 inch cutting surface on that blade, 3/16 width, and a 90-degree spine. Full tang, high carbon steel, 1095, and that Scandi grind is nice and wide, indicating that this is going to be a great carving tool. It is very sharp right out of the box, cut through paper like butter. This knife has some heft behind it, and so we're going to use it as a chopper. We don't normally chop into material, but today we're going to put this knife through its paces. We're going to chop down this small sapling using gross motor skills, the most basic technique, and harvest the material to create additional tools and basic tools that require very little effort to give us leverage and mass for future tasks in survival. That first tool we can create in any situation is going to be just a simple digging stick. We took down that sapling, harvested the section out that we need, and now we just need to fashion a point on one end, make a trimmed end on the other, and we have our basic digging stick about the length of our arm that we can use. This simple digging stick gives us the ability to add mass behind our blade. Adding that mass behind our blade means we can process materials that are larger in diameter, like this log that we brought out that's about 3 or 4 inches in diameter. Because of that cutting surface of our blade and the added mass behind it in the form of that baton, we can now process this log down into smaller elements to use it for whatever we need. In this case, a bow drill friction fire set. Now we've harvested the material we're going to use for our hearth board as well as our spindle. The point of this knife is good at getting into that hearth board and creating the initial divot that we need to seat the spindle on before we go to an ember we're going to burn in very quickly. And so having that divot is important, and the point accomplishes this very well. With the spindle, we have kind of a larger section in this video, and we deliberately chose that so we could see how the knife actually pulls away material. And the knife cleans this up, it takes down material very well and shapes that spindle into that traditional shape that we need, that is round and long, that we can use to actually burn in with. We harvested just a small green sapling to use as the bow, and we have that hank of 550 cord always in our pocket, cordage management from the Pathfinder school, and we're going to use that as the string for our bow. And we also found a rock with a nice divot in it that looks like it will be good for a bearing block for our set. And now it's business as usual for the burn-in. The burn-in is the most important part with the bow drill friction fire set, in my opinion, because we have to marry these pieces up to make sure they're going to function properly when we actually go for an ember. If they're not perfect, then we're going to slip around or the spindle will shoot out and we won't get that ember that we need for our survival fire. But that knife carved everything down perfectly, and it looks like this set is going to work. Textbook. And like I predicted, with that large bevel on that Scandi grind, this knife is a great carver. It gets into this material, cuts it away precisely, and we've got a good notch on our hearth board. And as another test, we're going to take that knife and carve away some extra material to see how it does with feather sticks. Because we have that, again, large bevel on that Scandi grind, we can actually carve material, and it looks really good with these feather sticks. Still a little meaty, but it cuts clean, and we've got a lot of feathers. As with any friction fire set, preparation is key. We've got cottonwood bark that we brought out with us to act as tinder, and we process this down, making our tinder bundle or our bird's nest, and putting on top of a shamag or something to keep it dry up off the ground. And now we're ready to go for an ember with our friction fire set we carved with our survival knife from SRO and PKS. I can already tell right away that the pieces are in place. Everything is mirrored up as it should be. The spindle's not going to come out. The rock is holding well. Everything is looking perfect with this set. All we have to do now is just continue to drill until we see smoke. Once we get more and more smoke, we can eyeball that notch as it fills, and once it's full, we go for broke until it's smoking on its own. Now that we have our ember, All we have to do is take it, pick it up with the catch, dump it in our tinder bundle that was sitting off to the side with our shemagh out of the way until we're ready. And then now we just add oxygen, blowing slow at first, and then we can add more and more oxygen and blow a little bit harder as we see more smoke coming out of the back of that tinder bundle until we finally blow it into flame. Turn that thing over, put it right back down on the ground, and then we're going to take all of our feathers that we carved away with that survival knife for PKS, put those feathers right over top, and we have our survival fire. Alright, speaking of fire, we're going to demo a few more fire skills. This first one, we're going to use our 90-degree spine on the back of our knife, good and sharp, with our ferro rod to drive sparks off that 6-inch ferro rod onto tinder. In this case, we're going to use natural tinder, cattail from the area. Cattail is what's called a flash tinder. It's going to produce a very quick, fast flame, thus flash, but we can use it in conjunction with other tinder to get that flame quickly transferred to ignite a survival fire. And because our knife is 1095 high carbon steel, we can use it with a piece of chert to create an improvised flint and steel fire starter. We have our char in the tin, and we have our hard rock. We drive sparks off the back of that knife, again from the spine, to ignite that char so we can use it to start a fire. Here's a little trick. Always carry Strike Anywhere matches as part of your fire starting kit along with Stormproof and regular matches to use them as the situation calls for. With those Strike Anywhere matches, we can strike them just about anywhere to get them lit to start a fire. In this case, we're going to use the PKS emblem on the side of the knife. It's etched in, so it's got a little rough surface. We can strike it with the match, and we got fire. And we're still not done with that 90-degree spine. That 90-degree spine on the back of our knife is a perfect scraper for natural material, for tinder, in this case fatwood. We can scrape a piece of fatwood with that spine and make shavings that'll act as tinder once ignited. We're going to use our leather ditty bag to collect up these fatwood shavings because there is a bit of a wind this morning. Now, with these shavings, once we collect them up, they'll stick together and we can put them out on the ground. We're going to grab that ferro rod that we had earlier, brace our hand with our knife on our boot using a lawnmower pull fashion. We're just going to shoot sparks right on that fatwood to ignite it, and that would start our fire. But wait, there's more. In this area, we can find horsehoof fungus because we're in an area where there is typically a high concentration of moisture. We can grab that horsehoof fungus off the tree, process it down into smaller sections, and then take small sections like this one with the tip of our knife and just simply drill into the side of that horsehoof fungus to create what's a fine dust. That dust we can then collect up, place on a collected surface or a leaf, and then hit it with our ferro rod, and it will begin to smoke, and we can add this to a tinder bundle to blow it into flame, similar to char cloth. Okay, so we wanted to do some sort of land navigation with just a knife if that's all we had in the field. And we can use the shadow tip method, placing a stick upright in the ground, one stick along the shadow at the beginning of the day, one stick along the shadow at the end of the day. We can use rocks and then lay a stick across the tips of those sticks to give us our east-west line, and then we can find north and south from there. But we're going to lose the sun at the end of the day, so this exercise is going to be moot. Therefore, we improvise with another piece of kit that we have as part of our 10 Cs, and that's the canvas needle. We can actually magnetize this needle with the tip of our knife, stroking the edge of the needle, driving the electrons to one end, and then it becomes magnetized, and we can pick it up with the tip of our knife. We're going to use our dog bowl and the water from our canteen to create a mini pond. We will go down to the water to do this test, but the wind is pushing the water around a little too rough for this. We just fill up that dog bowl with our water, and then we need to find something to suspend our needle on top of the water to make it float. In this case, we're going to use tinfoil. Fun fact, tinfoil is not magnetic, so we can use it for this technique. We just take our magnetized needle, place it on top of a piece of tinfoil, suspend it in that water, and watch it turn to a line to the north-south poles. Then we just look at the sun, find east and west, and move out. Alright, science class is over. Now it's time for woodshop. With our survival knife should be able to take down large material, process it out, but it should also be able to carve finer or more complex or complicated survival tools. One of those is going to be a gill net needle and gauge. It requires fine carving tasks, intricate skills, and fine motor skills and good dexterity. Now this task is one that Morse Kohansky and a lot of other bushcrafters say should be one of the tests with any bushcrafter survival knife, carving a gill net needle and gauge. We can accomplish this same task with our survival knife from SRO and PKS. Even though it's a larger knife, that larger bevel on the blade gives us the ability to actually carve away material. We just use some basic techniques, have a little patience, and we actually can create a simple gill net needle and gauge. This is the perfect test for this knife. A larger knife accomplishing what is typically assigned to smaller, fine carving tools, creating a gill net needle and gauge. This larger knife accomplishes that. A little bit rough around the edges, could be cleaned up, but it still works. Anytime we're out in the field, one of the basic skills we need to understand, especially doing bushcraft, is basic notching. Basic notches give us the ability to combine different materials, whether through lashing or binding or friction, to create more robust or more complicated tools or things that we need for campcraft or for survival. In this case, we're going to use our survival knife from PKS to just carve a simple cabin notch, because what we're going to do next is make a more complicated or robust tool to take down material. Our survival knife gives us the ability to process and harvest material off the landscape. If we carry more basic items with us, like just a simple saw blade, and then understanding notching, we can create more or better tools to take down additional material off the landscape. In this case, we're going to create a bucksaw frame, put it together so we can actually harvest material. With just some basic understanding of harvesting materials using different techniques, creating notches for combining that material, and then understanding lashing and a little bit of physics and carrying maybe just some basic items in our kit, we can now make larger tools to take down larger materials to process them for whatever we need in a survival situation. The bucksaw is a perfect example of this concept, in which we carry just the minimal amount of kit that we need and then take everything else from the area around us to build those things that we actually need to process material and provide for our most basic functions in the wild. Alright, now it's time for some home ec, and we're going to use our knife with some materials that we have to create a trap to go after some food so we have something to eat. This is called the Canadian Ace, or the upside down A trap. It's just a basic spring-loaded trap that we can use. The idea is we carve an A out of 3 different sticks that are all held together by L7 notches and some spade ends. The survival knife from Pathfinder Knife Shop does a great job of carving these simple notches. The spade end, it takes away material clean, easily, and then carving those L7 notches, we just press into the material, carve down, and then carve in, creating that 7, and it makes a notch perfectly. Now this is a larger Canadian Ace or upside down A trap that we're going to use, and we're going to strap it to a tree. It's all location dependent where the game is going to be, but then also the tree needs to have good branches that are springy and green hanging off of it higher up that we can use as our spring pole. We're going to take our first stick with our L7 facing out and that spade end on the bottom, and we have a little bit of extra stick on top, and that's where we're going to lash our stick to the tree to keep it in place. Once we have it lashed there, we just tie it off and secure it as best as possible. Next, we're going to take the shorter of the 3 sticks, which is going to be our trigger stick, attach cordage to it. We're just going to use a simple lark's head. And then we're going to take that cordage, tie it off to the branch that's sticking out of the tree above the trap to act as our spring pole. Bring it all down, set it together, and then test it. Alright, it looks like our trap is going to work. Now we need to attach the snare to the cordage of our trap, connecting the spring pole to the trap itself. We're going to use another piece of paracord to create a Prusik knot, wrap it around the cordage, and then attach the snare wire to that Prusik knot. That way we can move it up and down the line, but it will tighten once activated. We can maneuver that snare wire so it's in front of our bait stick or the pointy stick, and then we would want to get more saplings to create a fence on 3 sides of the trap, making only a funnel for one direction for the animal to go, and that's straight through the noose to the bait stick, so it activates the trap and the noose is around its neck. But we can activate that trap and see that it works. Alright, now we're going to have a little fun with some signaling using this bright orange cotton t-shirt to create a signaling device and see if it works. We're going to take this orange t-shirt that we could use for a variety of tasks, making char cloth or bandages, but we're going to use it for a signal. We could put it on like we had before, and we would be the signal walking around. But in this case, we're going to take the shirt, we're going to cut it down the side so we can fold it out lengthwise, and then we're going to cut it into 3 strips so we can create 3 flags with this material because it'll move in the breeze. Now we just take these 3 strips, tie them to 3 poles, and we can put these flags out equally spaced in an open area for search and rescue to see. Or we can take these flags, put 1 on the ground, grab 2, and start swinging them over our head when search and rescue is imminent and we see the aircraft. That way we can alert them with these simple tools. For our final test, we're going to see if this knife still has an edge after all the abuse we put it through today, making fire, processing materials, carving tools, and cutting different things. As you can see, it's still got an edge. It's still going through paper like butter. This knife still has an edge, and what that means is that we can still do more in our situation. We still have a tool that works and functions that will help us survive. Alright guys, I really hope you liked this video. The review of the survival knife from Reliance Outfitters and the Pathfinder knife shop. As an instructor at the school, I know that these knives are built to be tough and they're meant to be used. And this knife has not let me down. I really hope you like this video. I really hope you like this knife. If you want to check out this knife, check out the links down below. I'll leave the links in the video as well. I really hope you like this video. If you did like this video, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, leave me a comment in the comment section. I always appreciate your feedback. I want to thank you guys for what you can do for me, for this channel, for your likes, your views, your subscriptions, your comments, your feedback, and your shares. And I'll be back with another video as soon as I can, guys. Thanks.